2025 gave us some absolutely questionable LEGO releases. The left fans scratching their heads, and wallets empty with the first ever $1,000 set that isn't even a complete sphere plus booknooks that feel like expensive dust collectors, and Marvel sets that couldn't decide what they wanted to be. Marvel kicked off 2025 with a set that perfectly set the tone for disappointment. The Captain America Civil War Action Battle 76314 hit shelves on January 1st for $99.99. And immediately became a punching bag for reviewers. This 736-piece set tries to recreate the iconic airport battle from Captain America Civil War, but here's the thing. It fails at being both a display piece and a playset, which is impressive because those are literally its only two jobs. The set comes with 8 minifigures, which sounds great until you realize they're mostly reused from other sets with some bizarre downgrades. The Spider-Man figure actually removed the leg printing that previous versions had. Why would you downgrade a minifigure in a $100 set? The Black Panther lost his head printing compared to the 2016 version. Even the centerpiece Quinjet is pathetically small. Brothers Brick called it lackluster, with a subpar minifig lineup and a pathetically small Quinjet. When your $100 set's main vehicle is being described as pathetic, you know something went wrong. The construction figure Ant-Man is the only redeeming feature. He stands over 9 inches tall and actually looks decent, but even that can't save this set from being a clunker. The biggest sin is that this set can't pick a lane. It's got play features, but they're underwhelming. It's meant for display, but it looks empty and sparse. At 13.4 cents per piece, it's overpriced for what you're getting, especially when you compare it to other Marvel sets from the same year. This was Marvel's way of saying welcome to 2025, and fans were not impressed. LEGO and Nike teamed up in 2025 for what should have been a slam dunk partnership, but instead they gave us the Nike Slam Dunk 43. This set perfectly encapsulates the phrase, trying too hard. For $69.99 you get 899 pieces, and a brick-built basketball player that lacks articulation below the arms. Let me repeat that. A set designed around a slam dunk moment, and the figure can barely move. The centerpiece is this massive humanoid figure, frozen mid-dunk. It's customizable with different hairstyles and jersey numbers, which sounds cool until you realize you're spending $70 on what's essentially a corporate mascot built from Lego. The figure is covered in 59 stickers. 59 in a $70 set. At this price point, these should be printed pieces. The basketball doesn't even have lines on it. It's just an orange sphere. Multiple reviewers called it ugly with one, stating it's one of the ugliest sets they've ever seen. Brickset users were brutal with comments like, "I nominate this set for one of the worst of the year and possibly the decade, and this whole line is a massive missed opportunity." The set tries to appeal to Nike fans, basketball fans, and Lego fans simultaneously and ends up satisfying none of them. It's too expensive to be a kid's toy, too ugly to be a display piece, and too corporate to have any soul. The background includes a scoreboard and championship banner, but they feel tacked on like Lego was desperately trying to justify that $70 price tag. What makes it worse is this could have been great. Lego proved with their NBA sets 20 years ago that basketball and bricks can work, but instead of learning from that success, they created what one reviewer called corporate Memphis in Lego form. It's a set that exists purely because Nike and Lego signed a partnership contract, not because anyone actually wanted it. Lego introduced booknooks in 2025 as their answer to the viral bookshelf decoration trend. The concept sounds perfect. Narrow, detailed builds that sit between books on your shelf, recreating famous locations. But the execution, especially with the Balrog booknook 10367, was a massive disappointment. The Balrog set retails for $129.99 and contains 1,201 pieces. It recreates Gandalf's confrontation with the Balrog on the Bridge of Khazad-dûm from Lord of the Rings. On paper, this sounds amazing. In reality, it's a hollow, expensive mess. Brothers Brick lumped both booknooks they reviewed together, Sherlock Holmes and Lord of the Rings, saying they were pretty disappointing, especially the Balrog. The set features empty walls and what multiple reviewers called ridiculous sparks. The flames look goofy and unnatural. The Balrog itself, while decent, is positioned in what looks like a cage, making it feel confined and squashed. One reviewer stated it's not a book nook in terms of design, with its empty walls and ridiculous sparks, nor is it a credible display model with a sloppy Balrog and an extremely simplified setting. The price is the killer. At 13.4 cents per piece for what's essentially a frame with a figure inside it, feels like highway robbery. When you compare it to other Lord of the Rings sets like Rivendell, which gave you 6,167 pieces for $500, this feels like a rip-off. The Sherlock Holmes book nook wasn't much better. While it had better minifigures, the actual book nook design felt cramped and didn't capture the charm that made the concept popular in the first place. The fundamental problem with LEGO's book nooks is they're trying to cram too much into too little space, while charging premium prices. Real book nooks that crafters make focus on depth and detail in a narrow space. LEGO's versions feel like they're stretching to justify the price tag, with disconnected elements that don't create a cohesive scene. Multiple reviews mentioned that these sets were contenders for most disappointing of 2025. When your main achievement is disappointment, you know something went wrong. The sets are already seeing deep discounts, with the Balrog dropping 32% on Amazon UK just 6 months after release. That's never a good sign. Star Wars fans have been asking for a new Kylo Ren shuttle for years. LEGO delivered in 2025 with 75406 Kylo Ren's command shuttle, and it's basically $70 for a pair of wings. This midi-scale set contains 386 pieces, no minifigures, no pilot, just a small body and 2 massive wings. At 18 cents per piece, this is objectively terrible value. Brothers Brick's review subheading said it all is this pair of wings really worth $70. The overwhelming feeling reviewers had was disbelief at the price. The set is part of LEGO's Starship collection, but it has the lowest piece count of any set in that line, while somehow not being the cheapest. It's about $15 to $20 more expensive than sets with similar or higher piece counts. The build is repetitive. Bags 2 and 3 are almost identical, just building mirror image wings. The wings are 3 plates thick, which makes them sturdy, but visually they look too bulky compared to the thin body of the shuttle. The body itself is tiny and simple. There are some micro builds of Kylo Ren and General Hux hidden inside, which is cute but doesn't justify the price. The wings can fold up or deploy at 45 degrees, which is accurate to the films but removes the retractable functionality that previous playsets had. When displayed with wings up, it looks like a black tuning fork, according to one reviewer. The bare anti-studs on the wing undersides are prominently visible and ugly. Multiple reviewers noted that asking €70 or dollars for this model is bold. It's essentially LEGO testing how much Star Wars fans will pay for a minimalist display model. The answer, based on reviews, not this much. What makes it worse is LEGO released other midi-scale ships the same year, like the Acclamator-class assault ship, that offered way better value. The Kylo Ren shuttle feels like a cash grab, trading on the sequel trilogy nostalgia while delivering the bare minimum. The Lord of the Rings fans waited over a decade for a new version of Bag End. When LEGO announced the Shire 10354 for $269.99, excitement turned to confusion and anger over the price. This 2017 piece set recreates Bag End and Bilbo's 111th birthday party. The minifigures are excellent. All 9 are new and exclusive, including fantastic representations of Frodo, Gandalf, Bilbo, and other hobbits in their party clothes. This is genuinely the best part of the set. But here's where it falls apart. The interior of Bag End is cramped, basic, and feels oddly shallow despite the high piece count. Rooms are small and underwhelming, with critical details like the one ring hidden in an envelope, relying on stickers instead of prints. At this price point, stickers are insulting. The exterior looks good with nice curved pieces, creating that hobbit hole aesthetic, but the back is completely open and messy. The side builds, like the party stage carts and barrels, feel disconnected and literally aren't even attached to the base in some cases. They're just scattered around, making the set feel less like a cohesive display and more like a playset with random pieces. The price is the elephant in the room. At 13.4 cents per piece, this is terrible value, especially when you compare it to LEGO's own Lord of the Rings sets. Rivendell was $500 for 6,167 pieces with 21 minifigures. That's 8.1 cents per piece. Bewildered was $460 for 5,471 pieces with 11 minifigures. That's 8.4 cents per piece. The Shire is $270 for 2,017 pieces with 9 minifigures. That's over 13 cents per piece. One reviewer stated, "The price doesn't make sense to me and feels like LEGO are taking advantage of Lord of the Rings fans who are locked in at this stage." Multiple reviews noted, this set would be perfect at $220. At $270, it feels like a $50 tax for the license. Community reaction was swift with comments like, "I kinda need this, but I don't need the price. And I was all for this set until I found out the price is $270, what the hell?" Even positive reviews acknowledge the price is a problem. When literally everyone agrees your set is overpriced, you messed up. The set compares poorly even to Disney's Beauty and the Beast castle released the same week, which was only $10 more, but had 900 more pieces. LEGO seemingly looked at their captive Lord of the Rings audience and decided to squeeze every penny they could. On October 1st, 2025, LEGO broke its own record by releasing the 75-419 UCS Death Star for $999.99. This is the most expensive LEGO set ever made, and it's a flat disc. Let me explain why this caused such controversy. Previous Death Star sets were either complete spheres like the iconic 2005 Death Star 2, or spherical playsets like the 2016 version. Fans naturally expected a new UCS version to be a glorious complete sphere. LEGO said, "No, here's a slice." The set depicts a cross-section of the Death Star, showing different rooms and scenes from A New Hope and Return of the Jedi, stacked vertically. It's 70 centimeters tall, 79 centimeters wide, and contains 9,203 pieces. It comes with 38 minifigures, which is insane, but that's about where the positives end. Brothers Brick's review called it Imperial Folly and noted that building it tests the limits of fun with 25 hours of repetitive foundational building. The ratio of grunt work to delightful moments is out of balance according to their review. Multiple reviewers noted the build is endurance, not enjoyment. The format itself is divisive. Some fans appreciate seeing all the iconic scenes. Others feel robbed that they're paying $1,000 for half a Death Star that's presented like a dollhouse. The designer explained they prioritize space for iconic scenes over spherical accuracy, but the reasoning falls flat when fans point out they'd rather have a smaller complete sphere than this massive flat display. The size is actually a problem. At 31 inches wide and 27 inches tall, it requires massive amounts of dedicated display space. You can't really put other sets near it because it dominates everything. It's impractical to move and unforgiving in how it needs to be oriented. As a display piece, it's impressive, in the same way a monster truck is impressive. Big, loud, impossible to ignore, and completely impractical for daily life. The price per piece is actually decent at 11.1 cents, which is better than many recent Star Wars sets. But that metric becomes meaningless when the total cost is $1,000 and the format is so divisive. The thing is, this set was clearly designed by someone who didn't understand what Death Star collectors actually wanted. They wanted either a perfect sphere for display or an affordable MIDI-scale version. Instead, they got an expensive compromise that satisfies neither desire. Reviews noted that many fans would prefer a $150 MIDI-scale Death Star that's an actual sphere over this $1,000 slice. LEGO Star Wars designers' reasoning was that this format allows maximum space for scenes. But that logic only works if you ignore what the Death Star actually looks like. Imagine if LEGO made a UCS Star Destroyer, but it was a vertical cross-section, because that allows more room for interior details. Fans would riot. That's essentially what happened here. The controversy was so intense that it became a meme. One reviewer theorized this was a bet or dare in the boardroom. Will adult fans of LEGO spend $1,000 on a Death Star that isn't even spherical or hemispherical? Another joked it looks like LEGO's designers left this project to the last minute and execs decided to absorb the backlash rather than delay it. Multiple Canadian fans pointed out they're paying $1,300 before taxes for this thing. Australians are paying over $1,500. The value proposition completely falls apart outside the US. What makes this particularly frustrating is 2025 also saw amazing Star Wars sets at reasonable prices. The MIDI scale acclimator was fantastic. The Game Boy set was brilliant. LEGO proved they could deliver quality at multiple price points. Then they released this $1,000 monument to hubris. The UCS Death Star isn't the worst LEGO set of 2025 from a pure quality standpoint. The build is competent, the piece count is high, and the minifigures are excellent. But it might be the most disappointing, because it represents LEGO completely misunderstanding what their premium customers want while charging a record-breaking price for the privilege. Marvel gave us another Quinjet in 2025 because apparently we didn't have enough. The Avengers Age of Ultron Quinjet 76-325 costs $119.99 for a 1,131 pieces. $8.09 per piece sounds okay until you realize most of the minifigures are reused, and this is the umpteenth Quinjet LEGO has released. The set includes Hawkeye, Black Widow, Iron Man, Quicksilver, and Ultron. Sounds great, except Hawkeye is reused from 2024's Avengers Assemble set. Black Widow appears in 2 other 2025 sets. Iron Man's Mark 43 armor has been in multiple sets since 2024. Only Quicksilver and Ultron are truly new, and even Quicksilver reuses Winter Soldier's head, with some fans noting he doesn't quite live up to expectations. A French review brutally noted, "That's a small price for a €120 product if you look at it from the perspective of a minifig collector eager for something new." The Quinjet itself is fine. It's another Quinjet in a long line of Quinjets dating back to 2012. LEGO has released the Quinjet in sets like 6869, Quinjet Aerial Battle 76032, Avengers Quinjet City Chase 76126, Avengers Ultimate Quinjet, and 76248, the Avengers Quinjet. At some point it stops being a homage and starts being lazy. This set exists purely to give Marvel completionists another Quinjet to buy while reusing as many minifigures as possible to keep costs down. There's no innovation, no interesting building techniques, just another Quinjet that looks like all the other Quinjets. For $120 you'd expect more. While not technically released until late 2025, the Disney Frozen Advent Calendar 43273 deserves a mention for sheer laziness. This 231-piece calendar launched in September 2025 for $34.99. French blog Hothbricks absolutely eviscerated it, stating the result is catastrophic for a product that highlights Frozen. Out of 24 boxes, you get 3 micro dolls that look like they came straight out of a Kinder Egg, plus Olaf, Sven, 2 kittens, and a baby penguin. That's it. The micro dolls are Elsa, Anna, and Kristoff, and they're tiny basic figures with minimal detail. The rest of the builds are small accessories, like an ice throne, a snowflake, and a Christmas tree. Nothing substantial, nothing interesting, just filler to fill 24 days. The review stated, "The price is so disappointing I'm not even sure this product is worth 2 €10 notes." When a reviewer is questioning if your $35 product is worth €20, you've failed spectacularly. LEGO typically puts effort into their advent calendars with clever builds and exclusive minifigures. This one feels like it was designed in an afternoon with whatever Frozen assets they had lying around. For parents, this is especially insulting because kids will be disappointed opening these boxes. There's no progression, no story, just random small builds that don't connect to anything. The Friends and City Advent calendars the same year offered way more interesting builds and better value. What makes these sets the worst of 2025 isn't always that they're badly built. Many are competently designed. The problem is value-poor decision-making and LEGO seemingly taking advantage of licensed properties to justify insane prices. The Captain America set couldn't decide what it wanted to be. The Nike Slam Dunk prioritized corporate branding over actual playability. The booknooks charged premium prices for hollow builds. Kylo Ren's shuttle is literally just wings with a price tag. The Shire overtaxed Lord of the Rings fans who are desperate for any new content. The Death Star was a $1,000 experiment in seeing how much fans will tolerate. The Quinjet was pure laziness. The Frozen calendar was an insult to anyone who bought it. 2025 showed us that LEGO will absolutely test the limits of what fans will pay, especially for licensed content. when you're charging $130 for a booknook with empty walls, or $70 for a tiny shuttle, or $1,000 for half a Death Star. You're not respecting your customers, you're exploiting their love of the brand.